My husband was reborn. The first thing he did after being reborn was rush to save Ju Ying, leaving me behind to be crushed by the beam. In our past life, Ju Ying was burned to death in the study. When the house caught fire, no one knew there was anyone in the study. Watching my husband walk away, I suddenly felt a wave of relief. No longer would I have to carry the heavy burden of gratitude, serving the Shen family like a slave, in our 10 years of marriage. Even if he remained cold and cruel to me, I did my best to fulfill my duties as a wife, only because my life was saved by him. It was a visit to a friend's house, where their youngest sibling was celebrating their first birthday, and relatives and friends were invited to celebrate. Unexpectedly, we encountered a fire. At the time, the fire was quite fierce and quickly spread throughout the entire house, and the female guests were trapped in the West Hall. To make matters worse, the roof beam was burned and fell down, unfortunately hitting my right leg. I couldn't break free. Watching the ladies flee in panic one by one before my eyes, I thought I was going to die here. Unexpectedly, Shen Qing rushed in, lifted the beam for me, and saved me. From then on, people would say that Shen Qing gave me my second life, that he saved me at the risk of his own life, and I chose to marry him to repay his life-saving grace. It was a beautiful story. At that time, all I knew was that a woman named Ju Ying had died in a fire, born to a concubine. She hadn't been very conspicuous, and most of those who attended the banquet that day didn't remember her. It was her master's wife who, after being startled, took a head count and discovered she was missing. After searching everywhere, they found a charred body in the study, which had been burned down to only a few copper bookshelves. The jade pendant and gold ornaments on the wreckage confirmed the identity of the owner. I only learned after getting married that Shen Qing had a past with Ju Ying. Shen Qing had always wanted to marry Ju Ying, but unfortunately Ju Ying's status was not suitable for Shen Qing, and her family disapproved, so they agreed that once Shen Qing married a principal wife, he would then elevate Ju Ying to the status of honored concubine. It was a way to preserve their affection for each other. Who knew that what was supposed to be a happy ending for lovers would instead become a separation of life and death? After getting married, Shen Qing became remorseful every time he thought of this, and was depressed for a long time. Those Shen family elders who had originally looked down on Ju Ying's background also began to miss her good qualities. The living can never compete with the dead, especially since I have a scar on my right leg from being hit by the beam. The Shen family believed that with such flaws, it was already the greatest act of kindness for Shen Qing to marry me, not to mention that Shen Qing had saved my life. I acknowledge this, so I endured all the difficulties the Shen family presented. I came to repay a debt of gratitude, and these were all things I deserved. Later, Shen Qing established a memorial tablet for Ju Ying in the name of a concubine of equal status. He told me to live well in place of Ju Ying. My life was exchanged for Ju Ying's, and if I didn't live well, the person I would be most sorry to would be Ju Ying. I don't admit this. My only rescuer is Shen Qing. As for Ju Ying, I have no connection with her. She was neither killed by me nor died trying to save me. Shen Qing's career has been smooth, but he has never been happy, at least not when he's with me. He always laments over Ju Ying. So, I took several concubines who resembled Ju Ying in appearance and temperament. I treated these concubines well, because Shen Qing likes them, and I like them too. Later, all these concubines had children, and I registered them all under my name, entered them into the family tree, and they became children. That day, another concubine went into labor, and after Shen Qing and I found out, we rushed to see her in the rain. As we walked to the waterside pavilion in the backyard, I met him. At that time, the rain was getting heavier and heavier. My foot slipped, and in a panic, I grabbed onto Shen Qing, but unexpectedly, neither of us could stand firm, and we both rolled down a nearby slope and fell into the lake. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn 10 years ago, right at the time of that great fire. Shen Qing ran past the door without looking back. Rushing toward the study, I let out a soft breath, feeling completely relieved. I pushed the beam off my body with all my strength and crawled toward the door. When I finally managed to get out of the room, I was discovered and dragged to safety. I just realized that even without Shen Qing's help, I could survive. and Shen Qing can finally make up for the regrets of his past life saving Ju Ying. This kind of rediscovery is especially precious. And Shen Qing even brought Ju Ying back to the Shen mansion to recuperate, and resolutely insisted on marrying Ju Ying as his wife. Everyone knew about Shen Qing and Ju Ying's secret affair. Some praised them for breaking through worldly conventions and having a love stronger than gold, some despised them for their private dealings without regard for shame, and some envied Ju Ying, who had a humble status, for being favored by the eldest son of the Shen family. All of this has nothing to do with me. I held the warm Angelica root chicken soup and took several satisfying gulps. Since being reborn, I've eaten 18 chickens, roasted chicken, grilled chicken, stewed chicken, braised chicken. Every meal has to have chicken. Because Father Shen didn't like eating chicken, I didn't eat a single bite of chicken for the 10 years I was married into the Shen family in my previous life. I originally thought that in this life, I would no longer have any involvement with the Shen family. Unexpectedly, my mother came to me excitedly this day. "Anan, do you remember Shen Qing, the young master of the Shen family?" The stew pot in my hand almost slipped and broke. "I don't remember," I steadied my nerves and replied calmly. "How could you forget? Last December at the Plum Blossom Garden, Madame Chen was subtly probing me, wanting to propose a marriage with the Shen family's son." "Really? I didn't know that." Every winter, the capital hosts several plum blossom viewing parties, which are actually gatherings held under the guise of appreciating plum blossoms, where families bring their young men and women of marriageable age to meet and size each other up. I haven't been there often, so I really don't know what has happened in the plum garden. Alas, at that time I also favored the Shen family's young master, and wanted to exchange horoscopes with them after the new year to see if our birthdays matched. It was all settled, but who knew, the Shen family never followed up. My heart was already in turmoil. So, even if Shen Qing hadn't saved me, the Shen family originally intended to propose marriage to the Liang family. It's just that Shen Qing kept insisting on marrying Ju Ying at the time, and the elders of the Shen family couldn't dissuade him, delaying the proposal. Later, both parties agreed that after Shen Qing married his primary wife, Ju Ying would enter the family as a concubine. I put down the chicken soup and said, "The Shen family probably feels they are not worthy of my Liang family and have given up on that idea." Although the Shen family was a wealthy and prominent family, it had gradually declined by Shen Qing's father's generation. However, my Liang family was at the height of its prosperity, with many uncles, brothers, and nephews serving as officials in the court, and my father had risen to the position of Vice Minister of the Ministry of Personnel. My mother, however, looked displeased. "Liangan, since when have you become so acrimonious and snobbish?" The second master of the Shen family was granted the title of general to guard the frontier and died for his country. "Your current life of luxury is bought with his life. It is the Liang family that is unworthy of the Shen family, not the Shen family climbing above the Liang family." As she spoke, my mother's eyes reddened. "Why be so agitated?" I shut my mouth, not daring to say more. Mother calmed her emotions and continued, "Today, the Shen family sent someone to propose marriage. I've had your birth details prepared, and will wait for an auspicious day to take them to the Shen family's young master for matching the horoscopes. If there are no conflicts, this marriage can be finalized." I sprayed out a mouthful of tea. "Daughter, does my father know about this?" I asked. Her mother said in a light tone, "He's busy with government affairs. How could he bother with such trivial matters?" I was speechless. When had my marriage become such a trivial matter? For aristocratic families, a marriage always affects everything, like pulling one hair that moves the whole body. "Mother, we should inform father about this first, regardless of other things. Lately there's been much talk outside. The young master of the Shen family has already fallen in love with someone, pledged to a woman for life. If that's true, then coming to our Liang family to propose is nothing but a mockery." My mother dismissed it. "It's all just rumors. Even if it were true, that woman is of no standing after all. They'll still come to our house to propose to you as the rightful wife." I really wanted to pry open my mother's mind and see what was inside. In my previous life, Shen Qing saved my life, and my father originally intended to offer some money or promote Shen Qing's career to express his gratitude. It was also my mother who strongly advocated that I repay the favor with my own body. And she kept persuading me, saying that Shen Qing was a talented and noble person, and the Shen family was a clean and honest family, and they even produced a general who sacrificed himself for righteousness. Marrying into such a family was a blessing that had been cultivated for several lifetimes. At that time, I was just beginning to experience love and was simple-minded, so I was inevitably moved. Later, after marrying into the Shen family, I discovered that Shen Qing was not a good man. And I had sought help from my family, expressing my desire to divorce. Unexpectedly, my mother said, "I was born a Shen family member, and I will die a Shen family ghost. The life I have now was given to me by Shen Qing. This life is never enough to repay him." At that time, my father was already seriously ill, and I felt desperate and helpless. Unfortunately, after 10 years of hardship, I was no longer that shy girl who blushed at the mere sight of others. I let out a light chuckle. Mother really knows how to joke. Before marrying, Mr. Shen was all over town courting women, causing rumors to spread everywhere. No respectable young lady would even consider marrying him, yet his family still had the audacity to come to our Liang family to propose. This is too funny. I have to tell father and my uncles. Let them have some fun too. I laughed as I got up and walked outside, walking quickly, ignoring my mother stomping her feet in anger behind me. Of course, father wasn't home at this time, so I hid in the bamboo forest to think about it carefully. Shen Qing is reborn. He clearly doesn't love me. Why doesn't he stop his family from proposing marriage? He could just spend his life with his Ju Ying. Why won't he let me go? It's just that the Shen family still looks down on Ju Ying, who comes from a humble background, and wants to marry a lady from a wealthy family as their principal wife. It's just that he wants to get my father's support and have a prosperous official career, just like in the previous life. It's just that he wants me to continue to marry into the Shen family and be a beast of burden. I gritted my teeth, the silk handkerchief in my hand twisted to shreds. In the evening, father returned to the residence, and I told him about the Shen family's proposal. He also scolded mother for acting recklessly, although the Shen family is prominent. Shen Qing himself has achieved nothing and there are many rumors about him. How can he be considered a good match? Anan is right. His proposal to our family is a joke. But mother disagreed. How is the Shen family's son not a good match, who hasn't been a bit frivolous in their youth? Besides, his second uncle died on the battlefield defending the country. Shouldn't we support and assist the descendants of such a hero? How can you support and help? By using my marriage. By using my whole life. My father and I looked at each other, both speechless. You're right. Now that you mention it, I'll take care of the Shen family more in the court from now on. As for Anan's marriage, we'll make other plans. Father cut off mother's words, and mother had no choice but to drop the matter. Perhaps because I've been reborn, some things have changed. My right leg, which was burned in the previous life, has now recovered completely after treatment, leaving no scars. I expressed my sincere gratitude to the doctor, thanking him for his superb medical skills, but the doctor looked at me strangely and said, "The wound was originally very superficial. As long as you apply burn ointment on time, it will heal completely in due course." Then why did I have a large burn scar in my previous life? Shen Qing has often disliked me because of this scar and even told her mother about this private matter. Her mother said I was a flawed person and that marrying into a prominent family was extremely fortunate, saying I was not good enough for Shen Qing. Suspicion arose in me, and I asked, under what circumstances would a wound leave a scar? While writing the prescription, the doctor said casually, "As long as you don't listen to those absurd folk remedies and apply things like grass ash or wood flour to the wound, it will never leave a scar." I was thunderstruck. In my previous life, after being saved by Shen Qing, my mother urged me to repay him with my body while simultaneously applying ashes to my wounds, claiming it was a secret remedy for burns. Later, after my wounds scabbed over and scarred, my mother said again that a scarred body made it difficult to marry into a wealthy family, that the Shen family was willing to marry me was already the best match for me, besides his saving my life. This scar made me feel so inferior that I finally agreed to marry Shen Qing. Looking back now, my mother came from a distinguished family, and the household even employed a personal physician. Growing up immersed in such an environment, it was impossible for her not to know that those secret remedies were unreliable, unless she had decided from the start to have me marry into the Shen family. That way, even if my family background was superior to Shen Qing's, my physical defects would force me to marry him. What exactly is the reason? Why is my mother so insistent on me marrying into the Shen family? Even if I live a life worse than death in the Shen family, she won't allow me to divorce and return home, only wanting me to wholeheartedly be a wife of the Shen family. At that time, my heart was dead to Shen Qing, and I no longer sought help from my family, so I would regularly stuff women into Shen Qing's room. Wasn't I supposed to be a good wife and mother? So many concubines should be enough to make Shen Qing happy, right? As for whether he knows moderation or whether he will be emptied, that's beyond the control of this worn-out wife. After my mother found out, she actually took the unprecedented initiative to come to me, but not to comfort me, but to scold me relentlessly. She scolded me for being incapable, unable to hold on to Shen Qing's heart, and even scolded me for arranging a concubine for Shen Qing, unable to keep the promise of one lifetime, one love. It was as if I had done something to let her down, and she scolded me severely. I thought she was unreasonable, and rolled my eyes at her inwardly. My mother, seeing that I ignored her, said something again, seemingly important, but at that moment I was busy thinking about going to the brothel to find a woman who looked like Ju Ying, preferably one with a venereal disease. For Shen Qing, I couldn't recall what she had said at the time. The past came flooding back into my mind, and I shivered all over, not from those 10 years of hell, but from the chill of realizing that the closest person to me had been scheming against me. As Qingming Festival approached, my mother asked me to accompany her on a spring outing to Beishan. She said there was a tea house at the foot of the mountain, famous for its beautifully made green rice balls. I readily agreed. Along the way, the mother and daughter chatted and laughed, as if the marriage proposal from the Shen family had never caused any discord. When the carriage reached the foot of the mountain, I suggested going to the tea house to sample their green rice balls, but my mother urged me to climb the mountain. I sneered inwardly, even more convinced that there was something fishy about this trip. Because the weather was warm, there were quite a few people coming to North Mountain for a spring outing. We encountered several familiar ladies and young misses along the way who invited us to join them, but my mother politely declined. Reaching a fork in the road, my mother pointed to the sparsely populated path and said, "There's a peach orchard over there, and the peach blossoms are in full bloom now, a truly breathtaking sight." I asked with a smile, "If it's so beautiful, why are there so few people going that way?" My mother stammered, "Most people just don't know about it." I didn't say anything more, following behind my mother, accompanied by the maids and the matron, 6 people in total. The path was winding and long, the route deep and secluded. My mother's expression became tense, but I remained calm. Suddenly, 2 masked men wielding sharp knives jumped out from the front right, blocking our path. "Don't move, robbery." The robber seemed very nervous, even stuttering a bit. I smirked and said, "Are you robbing us for money, for pleasure, or for our lives?" Seeing that I wasn't afraid, the 2 robbers were a little taken aback. One of them pointed a sharp knife at me and said, "Behave yourself, or you'll lose your life." My mother hugged me tightly and pleaded with the robbers, "Please don't hurt my daughter, she's only 16 years old, if anything happens to her, I don't want to live either." Before the words had faded, someone shouted from the side, "Bold thief, how dare you rob a maiden in broad daylight?" A figure wielding a sword emerged from the side. I focused my eyes, and it was none other than Shen Qing. He glanced back at me. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Looking at him, I suddenly felt disgusted, my stomach churning, and I gagged a few times. My mother thought I was frightened and patted me on the back. "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, it's young Master Shen. He's here to save us." I brushed off my mother's hand and turned to shout behind me, "Come out quickly, catch the thieves. Double the commission, and an extra 10 taels of silver for each person." As soon as I finished speaking, 10 burly men rustled out from behind me, swarming forward and subduing the 2 robbers. I pointed at Shen Qing, and him. "They're in the same gang." Shen Qing hadn't even recovered when he was already tied up. My mother was dumbfounded, and after a long while, she finally opened her mouth. What's going on? Who are they? They were porters I hired with money down the mountain early in the morning, each one tall and burly. I said I wanted to hike in the mountains with my elders, but I was afraid of snakes and insects, so I wanted to hire someone to follow behind us for protection. However, I was also afraid that they would disturb my mother's elegant mood for the outing, so I instructed them to follow only from a distance, and they must not be discovered by my mother. The porters in this area are all from nearby villages, with their families living nearby. They all know each other well, so there's no fear of them turning against us, and the price is reasonable. I thought there would be some traps with snakes and insects, but unexpectedly, it turned out to be bandits robbing us on the road. I feel like I got a good deal. Take them all to the authorities, I said with a cold smile. My mother suddenly panicked. You can't send them to the authorities, you can't. It will ruin your reputation. Don't worry, Mother. More than a dozen people here can testify that these bandits neither got close to me nor committed any indecent acts against me. How could it ruin my reputation? After hearing what I said, the porters chimed in. Don't worry, miss. We will all testify for you. No. The mother hurriedly blocked them as they were about to be taken away. Going to court constantly will have an impact on you. No matter how right you are, people will still gossip, and in the end, even your father might be implicated. I pretended to think. That's true. Originally, I didn't really intend to send them to the courthouse. If the mastermind behind it is uncovered, the Liang family might truly become the topic of conversation throughout the capital. But letting them off like this is too easy on them. I glared. Then let's give them a good beating. Preferably breaking their arms and legs, so they can never do evil again. The color drained from my mother's face, which had just begun to relax. Just teach them a lesson. Breaking their arms and legs might be too much. After all, they didn't really do anything to us. Over there, Shen Qing, still tied up, was struggling. Liangan, it's me, I'm Shen Qing. I glanced at him. What Shen Qing Shen Lu? Beat them all, beat them to death. The crowd's fists rained down on the three of them like a tide. Listening to their screams, I felt extremely pleased. Back at the manor, I even started whistling. But Mother said she had caught a cold and had been in bed for several days. She didn't want me to take care of her, and even excused me from morning greetings, saying she needed to rest. In the end, she just didn't want to see me. That's just as well. I sent a greeting card to my good friend Zhongyi, because of the fire incident last time. Her family had temporarily moved to the West Garden. The house was only repaired a few days ago and they moved back. Now that she's back, I must pay her a good visit. In my previous life, I never had the chance to see her again. Not long after I married into the Shen family, she went with her parents on a mission to the western regions, completely severing contact with me. Anan, I'm really sorry for scaring you last time, Zhongyi said with great remorse upon seeing me. I shook my head and smiled. Fortunately, no harm was done. By the way, has the cause of the fire been investigated? Zhongyi straightened his expression and lowered his voice. After my father's investigation, he did find some problems, but since no one was injured or killed, the matter was not pursued in depth. I perked up immediately. Tell me about it. Zhongyi told me that after the incident, the servants searching for the source of the fire found a lot of wood shavings at the base of the West Hall's outer wall, and wood charcoal powder scattered around the area. Before the incident, the West Hall had just been given a fresh coat of clear varnish. The workers would sand the beams and pillars before applying the paint. So the presence of wood shavings at the wall base doesn't necessarily mean someone did it on purpose. It could just be leftover debris that wasn't cleaned up properly. And that charcoal powder, when celebrating the young master's first birthday, the household prepared several large boxes of firecrackers. It's possible that someone accidentally broke a firecracker while handling them, causing the powder to spill along the way. Oh, right, the fire wasn't this big initially. But it just so happened that it turned cold those few days, and the varnish on the beams and pillars was sealed. The paint inside hadn't completely dried, so it caught fire immediately. After hearing Zhongyi's explanation, I couldn't help but frown. So many coincidences. What about the Zhu family's daughter? How did she end up in the study? And I remember that the Zhu family is only a minor official of the 7th rank and is not related to your family. Logically, you wouldn't invite them to a banquet, I asked. The Zhu family's madam came with second Madam Qin. You know, second Madam Qin is a relative of my eldest brother's wife. The Zhu family's madam must have gone through many twists and turns to get in good with second Madam Qin, probably asking second Madam Qin to take this opportunity to make connections. As for why the Zhu family girl went to the study alone at that time, we don't know. We originally wanted to ask the Zhu family girl about it, but after she was rescued by the Shen family's son, she stayed in the Shen family, and even the Zhu family members couldn't see her, alas. You say that the Shen family's actions are too disorganized. It's just that the Zhu family is not prominent and intends to curry favor with the powerful. If it were another noble family, the Shen family's son would be acting so rashly, enough to give him a hard time. I was silently chanting in my heart. Second Grandma Qin. I remember when I got married in my previous life, second Grandma Qin came to add to my dowry. It was then that I learned that second Grandma Qin was a close friend of my mother in her maiden days, because she went to her husband's post in her early years. It was only in the last 2 years that she returned to the capital and resumed contact with my mother. It's not uncommon for noble women in the capital to have contact with each other, but it's a bit strange that this can somehow connect my mother with Zhu Ying. After saying goodbye to Zhong Yi, I told her to keep in touch with me even after she went to the western regions. Zhong Yi laughed and said, "My father only decided on this assignment today, and you've already heard about it. You really have good ears." I laughed and brushed it off, but Zhong Yi stopped me just as I was about to leave. "By the way, the Xian chef your mother recommended this time was really good. We regained a lot of face at the banquet. My mother has been saying that she wants to visit your mother to thank her." My heart skipped a beat, and I asked, "Is the Xian chef you're talking about the one whose ancestors worked in the imperial kitchen?" Zhong Yi smiled and said, "Exactly, it's her. Chef Xian was originally the cook at my maternal grandfather's mansion. Later, when my grandfather's family moved to the old capital, Chef Xian didn't go with them and stayed behind. All the banquets, big and small, in my family were handled by Chef Xian. In my previous life, when I married into the Shen family, my mother was afraid I couldn't take good care of Shen Qing, so she specially asked Chef Xian to teach me. Mother told me to do everything myself, to roll up my sleeves and cook. Only then could I be a qualified wife. But my mother, she never stepped into the kitchen once in her life to make a bowl of soup for my father." Inside the carriage, I closed my eyes and tapped my thigh, fragments flashing through my mind, seemingly unrelated, yet interconnected everywhere. It felt like something crucial had slipped my mind. I was struggling to recall when the carriage jolted to a sudden stop. "What's wrong?" I told my maid to check. She went out, then came back and said, "It's young Master Shen of the Shen family, Shen Qing. He's stopped the carriage and says he has something to say to you, young lady." My face turned cold instantly. Haven't they been beaten enough? That day, those porters had held back after all. They didn't break their limbs. I didn't want to see Shen Qing at first, but I thought if he blocked the carriage in the middle of the road, it would attract gossip, so I suppressed my disgust and got out. Shen Qing still had bruises on his face. Seeing me get off the carriage, he put on an arrogant look and said, "Liangan, how long are you going to make a scene? If you keep this up, I won't marry you." I frowned. The man really had a thick skin. "What kind of madness has gotten into you, young Master Shen, coming here to spout nonsense? Marry me. Are you worthy? Doesn't your family have a scale? Don't you know your own weight?" Shen Qing stared at me in disbelief, then his expression darkened. "Are you throwing a fit? Are you angry because I brought Ying back to the Shen family? Don't worry, the position of legal wife will always be yours. The Shen family will never deny you the dignity you deserve." I shook my head. He was beyond redemption. "Shen Qing, today you stopped my carriage for no reason in the street and insulted my reputation with your vulgar words. When I get back, I'll ask my father, my uncles, my elder brothers, all of the Liang clan, to jointly impeach the Shen family. Just you wait." With that, I turned and got back into the carriage without looking back, leaving Shen Qing staring blankly. "You weren't like this before. In the first few years after marrying into the Shen family, I restrained myself and observed etiquette, respecting my parents-in-law. Even though Shunqing treated me as cold as iron, I gave him my whole heart and did everything personally, because of the debt of saving my life. My father also promoted Shunqing, helping him rise rapidly in his official career. Later, my father fell ill and resigned. No longer able to assist Shunqing in his career, the Shun family then began to abuse me even more brutally. Standing for hours in heavy snow to pay respects to Shunqing's parents was a common occurrence. It wasn't rare for Shunqing's younger sister to make me break the ice in the river to catch fresh fish in the middle of winter, just because she wanted to eat live fish. Shunqing's mother was afraid of the cold, and she said the hot water bottle was too hot and uncomfortable to step on, so she made me roast my hands on the hot water bottle, then use my warmed hands to warm her feet. Putting my frostbitten hands on the scalding hot water bottle, there was a searing pain and itching, but I had to endure it, year after year. Shunqing's father liked to eat the glutinous rice balls I fried by hand, and they had to be fried until the skin burst. Every time I fried more than a dozen, each one popping in the oil, scalding oil splashing all over my face and hands. In fact, Shunqing's father didn't really like them. Every time he took at most one bite, and the rest were fed to the dogs. At every meal, I had to stand by and serve the whole family until they finished eating before I could have anything. Watching me eat the leftovers, Shunqing's mother would smile and say, "You're really lucky. If Shunqing hadn't saved your life back then, you wouldn't even have the chance to eat leftovers." I felt a lump in my throat. In the 5th year of marriage, my father passed away. I went home alone to attend the funeral. I cried and cried, but my mother still persuaded me, "Go back soon, Shunqing is waiting for you at home. You must treat Shunqing and his family well to repay the debt of saving your life." I asked through my tears, "The debt of saving my life, again the debt of saving my life, what if I don't repay it?" Mother said sharply, "Then you'll go to hell when you die, so it's just hell." I suddenly stopped crying and wiped my tears. After that, I kept taking concubines for Shunqing. When he couldn't keep up, I even found him many secret tonics, all bought from the Hu people. Shunqing's mother was afraid of the cold, so I spent a lot of my own money to buy the freshest crabs from merchants. I carefully chopped up the crab hearts and put them in the bird's nest soup she drank every day, serving her meticulously. When Shunqing's father wanted to eat fried rice balls, I changed the recipe, adding lard, white sugar, and sesame seeds. The rice balls became extremely sweet and fragrant, and Shunqing's father ate several every day. I also learned famous dishes like crystal pork hock, dongpa pork, and preserved vegetable braised pork from Chef Xian, cooking different dishes every day. By the time I was reborn, Shunqing was already an empty shell, strong on the outside but weak on the inside. Shunqing's mother's heart palpitations had worsened, and she had developed severe asthma, gasping for breath with every step and even feeling tired when speaking. As for Shunqing's father, he had long shown signs of stroke, slurring his words and having a dull expression. Although I had secretly taken birth control medicine and had no children of my own, there were many legitimate sons and daughters registered under my name. If Shunqing's parents and Shunqing were all gone, I could have peacefully been the mistress of the household. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. In the end, I didn't live to see that day before I was reborn. So, how am I different from before? I was never a kind person. I was someone who deserved to go to hell. When I got home, I kept my word. I fetched my father, uncles, and elder brothers, told them what Shunqing had done today, and begged them to stand up for me. Everyone was furious. Shunqing comes from a famous family but is so poorly educated. It's no wonder the Shun family is declining. This is outrageous. Shunqing's rude words and behavior have offended our younger sister. When people talk about it, it won't hurt Shunqing's reputation, but it will taint our younger sister's name. It's unforgivable. Tomorrow at court, I will definitely submit a memorial impeaching the Shun family. No one blamed me. Instead, they all wanted to avenge me. It felt so good to be protected by my family. In my previous life, I also wanted to ask my family for help, but my mother stopped me repeatedly, saying I was making a fool of myself, that I was ruining the relationship between the two families and stirring up trouble over trivial matters. without the support of my natal family. The Shen family looked down on me even more and treated me with contempt. At that time, I thought my family didn't care about me anymore, that they all agreed that I had married into the Shen family just to repay the debt, and that all the grievances I suffered were deserved. Now it seemed that only my mother thought that way. In the evening, mother came angrily to confront me. Before I could speak, she slapped me hard across the face. "Liangan, you're so vicious. Inciting the family to impeach the Shen family at court, how dare you? What is your heart made of? How could I have a daughter like you? If you have any conscience left, come with me immediately and tell your father that you're deeply in love with young Master Shen, and that you falsely accused him out of anger because he doesn't reciprocate your feelings." I lowered my head and touched my throbbing cheek. Something in my heart snapped, probably the thread of kinship connecting me and my mother. I looked up at my mother's angry eyes and said calmly, "Very well, mother, I will go and explain to father." Hearing this, mother's anger subsided a little. Looking at my swollen face, her expression became somewhat unnatural. "Anan, mother shouldn't have hit you, but you really went too far. You must remember, mother is only doing this for your own good. If you have a falling out with young Master Shen this time, or even offend the Shen family, how will you have a good life after marrying into their family?" "Understood," I replied coldly. Not arguing, after mother left satisfied, I went to father's study and had a long talk with him. The next day was calm. The third day, nothing happened. In the days that followed, my mother saw that everything was normal and finally put her mind at ease. A few more days passed, and the person I sent to keep an eye on my mother returned with news that she had gone to Kueishing Tower. I immediately followed. Kueishing Tower is a property under my mother's name, located in a slightly remote area, with a lobby on the first floor, private rooms on the second floor, and the third floor reserved for the restaurant to entertain business partners, not open to the general public. Arriving at the entrance, I handed a silver ingot to the waiter who had been waiting outside. "How long has she been inside?" While speaking, the waiter quietly led me to the side door. "Just arrived. We received the news that the third floor was cleared, and I immediately sent someone to inform the young lady." I nodded. "Don't let the shopkeeper know I've been here." After going up to the third floor, I had just sat down when I heard an argument from the next room. "What do you mean? You said something about a hero saving a beauty, and had my Chinga wait there, only to have him beaten black and blue." I narrowed my eyes slightly. I would recognize this sharp voice even if it turned to ashes. It was Shen's mother. "A few days ago, your daughter once again verbally humiliated my Chinga on the street. Who does she think she is? Zhongrong, if you don't want to marry your daughter into our family, then don't treat the Shen family like monkeys. There are plenty of girls who want to marry into the Shen family." Faced with Shen's mother's anger, my mother's tone was slightly ingratiating. "The incident at North Mountain was just an accident. I didn't know Liangan would arrange for people to follow behind. As for Liangan's disrespectful words to young Master Shen, I've already disciplined her. Don't worry, my Liangan will definitely marry into the Shen family." The mother Shen said impatiently, "I'm saying, why do you create so many incidents in a day? First a fire, then robbers. You really want my daughter to marry into your family? It's just a marriage certificate." The mother sighed. "You don't understand. My daughter seems gentle on the surface, but she's proud and stubborn to the core, just like her father. If you directly propose marriage, firstly, it may not work out. And secondly, even if she marries into your family, she won't be easy to control. But think about it, if the Shen family is kind to her, things will be different. Not only will she be devoted to the Shen family, but my husband will also do his best to support his son-in-law. Don't you want your Chinga to have a successful career and rise to the top?" Madam Shen was clearly persuaded. "What you're saying isn't unreasonable, but the situation has already been messed up. What can we do now?" My mother, however, seemed confident. "I do have another idea. Next month, during the Dragon Boat Festival, the Empress Dowager will bestow medicinal baths upon the officials, and at that time," I listened expressionlessly as the two discussed their plan in the room, until they left, and then I left as well. Returning to the mansion, I calmly changed out of my clothes, removed my hair accessory, and took a few sips of tea handed to me by the maid. After the maid left, I was alone in the room. I sat there upright, my fingers starting to tremble slowly, then my arms, shoulders, and finally my whole body trembled uncontrollably, my heart filled with fear and anger. How could I, at 16, escape? If I was still the naive person I was 10 years ago, how could I escape these successive schemes? I had thought countless times, if I hadn't gone to the banquet that day, if it hadn't been for that fire, I wouldn't have had to marry into the Shen family. This pit of fire, I blame myself. Blame myself for not running fast enough, blame myself for not being alert enough, blame myself for not escaping from the West Hall in time. I had countless dreams. In that fire, I ran desperately, kept running. If I ran out, I would laugh. If I couldn't run out, I would cry. But it turned out that whether I ran or not was the same. I had always been in a cage, never left. The next day, my father was off duty and at home. I found him and said, after everything that's happened recently, I'd like to go to my maternal grandparents' family to relax and catch up with them. My maternal grandparents moved their entire family to the old capital when I was 3 years old. My mother has never gone to visit them, and we've had little contact with the family. Fortunately, my father has frequently exchanged letters with them, maintaining this familial bond. My mother immediately objected. It's such a long and distant journey. How can you, a young lady, go alone? I took her hand. Then mother, come with me. You haven't seen your grandparents and uncle for so many years, don't you miss them? Mother's expression immediately turned uneasy. It's not even a holiday, going there so suddenly would only cause trouble for your grandparents' family. How isn't it a holiday? Next month is the Dragon Boat Festival. We could go early and give them a surprise. Okay. Mother's face grew even stonier. Can you please stop being so impulsive? You always think of things on the spur of the moment, my father said. I think Annan's idea is good. My parents-in-law have mentioned in their letters many times that they miss Annan. If Annan wants to go, let her go. No, the Empress Dowager will bestow a medicinal bath during the Dragon Boat Festival, and all the officials will attend. It wouldn't be good if we were absent. Mother still strongly opposed. Mother is right. Then we'll come back before the Dragon Boat Festival. It's only a 2-day journey from the capital to the old capital. We'll go for a few days and come back just in time for the Dragon Boat Festival. My father and I persuaded my mother together, and finally, she relented. All right then, but I haven't fully recovered from my last cold, so I won't go back with you. Please send my regards to your grandparents. My mother urged me. Be sure to come back before the Dragon Boat Festival. After traveling by water for 2 days, I finally arrived at my maternal grandparents' home. My grandmother hugged me, calling me sweetheart repeatedly. When you left the capital, you were just a little dumpling, and in the blink of an eye, you've become a big girl. 13 years have passed in a flash. We don't live that far apart, but we haven't even seen each other once. This delicate little appearance is just like your mother's when she was young. At first sight, I thought it was Rong's sister back. Upon learning that her daughter was unwell and couldn't return, the grandmother's eyes welled with disappointment, unable to bear seeing her so upset at her age. I cracked jokes to change the subject and cheer her up. When the conversation turned to my marriage arrangements, I casually shared the story of the Shen family's marriage proposal as a joke, but to my surprise, her expression shifted slightly. The Shen family, I didn't expect that after all these years, your mother would still be so obsessed with. Perhaps it was because I, a junior, was present, making it inappropriate to criticize my mother, no matter how much I pressed. My maternal grandmother refused to reveal another word. If my maternal grandmother wouldn't say, there was definitely one person who would, my eldest maternal aunt. Whenever my maternal grandmother mentioned my mother, a contemptuous, disdainful, even disgusted expression would appear on my eldest maternal aunt's face. After spending a few days together, my eldest maternal aunt and I grew much closer. That day, I went straight to my aunt and asked her to save me. I told her how my mother had repeatedly set traps to marry me into the Shen family, which made my aunt indignant. It's outrageous that she would trap her own daughter like this. But then again, this is something Zhong Rong would do. My aunt sneered and revealed what happened back then. At that time, my maternal grandparents' family still lived in the capital. The Shen family produced a young general, heroic and awe-inspiring, attracting countless young girls in the capital to secretly admire him. Including my mother. At that time, your mother tried every means to get close to Shen Erlang, but Shen Erlang only wanted to make contributions and had no interest in romance, so he rejected your mother. Later, Shen Erlang went to the border to fight, died in battle, and never returned. Your mother was heartbroken and even wanted to go to the Shen family as a widow to keep watch over Shen Erlang. As she spoke, the disdain and hatred in Aunt's eyes were unmistakable. She completely disregarded the Zhong family's reputation and the future of the younger generations. Dressed in a red wedding dress, holding Second Master Shen's memorial tablet, she insisted on marrying into the Shen family as his widow. Luckily, your maternal grandfather and uncles discovered her plan in time, stopped her, and locked her in the backyard. It wasn't until she turned 18 that your maternal grandfather arranged an excellent marriage for her with your father and sent her off. Only then did the whole family breathe a sigh of relief. My face was filled with confusion. But didn't second Uncle Shen clearly reject mother before he went to war? Why did she still claim to be his widow, even wanting to marry into the Shen family to keep vigil? Didn't the Shen family object? The disdain on Aunt's face deepened. What do you think the Shen family is? After Second Master Shen died in battle, they spread rumors to all the young ladies who had once been interested in him, saying that Second Master Shen had actually been fond of them, but fearing the cruelty of war would drag them down, he had reluctantly rejected their affections. How shameless! Even after he was dead, they still wanted to use Second Uncle Shen's fame to marry into powerful families and consolidate their own position. No one would believe such nonsense, right? I regretted the words as soon as they left my mouth. Sure enough, Aunt sneered. Exactly what fool would believe that? But your mother, that fool, fell for their lies hook, line, and sinker. She thought Second Master Shen had feelings for her and that she couldn't betray that love. She was determined to marry into the Shen family and keep vigil for him. Perhaps she resented us for stopping her from marrying into the Shen family all these years. She never sent a single letter, let alone came to visit. Your father, though, was thoughtful. He came to see us several times, and all the nephews from our family who went to the capital for the imperial examinations received his care. I didn't know what to say for a moment. Aunt looked at me sympathetically and patted my hand. Don't worry, stay here at ease. Your marriage will be decided by your maternal grandmother. Let's see what trouble Zhongrong can stir up. I smiled bitterly to myself. I couldn't stay. There were more important things waiting for me to do back home. Aunt took me to a courtyard. This is the courtyard your maternal grandmother specially kept for your mother. The furnishings are exactly the same as her home in the capital before she got married. Your grandmother couldn't bear to throw away any of the furniture your mother used, so she had it all moved here. It's a pity your grandmother's kindness was wasted, Aunt sighed. I walked into the room. It was clean and bright, clearly cleaned regularly. The decorations were exquisite and elegant, many of them reflecting the delicate thoughts of a young girl. As I looked around, I was shocked to find that many of the furnishings and furniture were surprisingly similar to those in my own room. That jade crabapple ornament was already out of fashion, but Mother had insisted I place it on my dressing table, and the dressing table I had liked red sandalwood. But Mother had forced me to use huanghuali wood instead. Even the pattern on the curtains of the canopy bed was identical. I walked over to the bed, touched the headboard, and pulled gently. Sure enough, there was a hidden compartment. Inside were many jewelry pieces and paintings. I opened a scroll wrapped in red silk. On the scroll, a handsome young man in silver armor sat on a gallant horse, holding a spear radiating heroism, but his face was 80% similar to Shen Qing's. So that's it. So that's the truth. No wonder when I married Shen Qing, Mother's eyes were filled with tears, as if she were looking at someone else through us. No wonder she had been so angry when I took concubines for Shen Qing, urging us to be faithful to each other for a lifetime. I finally remembered what she had said back then. She had said, "All my efforts to remove obstacles for you were in vain." Before the Dragon Boat Festival, I rushed back to the capital. When Mother saw me return, she breathed a sigh of relief and discussed with Father which hot spring resort to visit. How about the pool at Shalin Slope? Father suggested. It's located on the mountainside, with a beautiful view. Mother shook her head. That's too far. It's just a formality anyway, let's go somewhere closer. I think Dong's courtyard is convenient, it's nearby. Father looked embarrassed. How can Dong's courtyard compare to Shalin's slope? There's no requirement for official rank to enter, so the crowd is mixed. I'm afraid it will wrong you and Annan. But Mother insisted. I also said, let's do as Mother says. After all, we just need to make an appearance. Who would actually soak in the medicinal bath? Father looked a little unhappy. I really wanted to soak. This royal hot spring is only available once a year. You two really don't know how to enjoy yourselves. On that day, Mother and I went with Father early in the morning. Mother suggested that Father go soak in the bath while she took me for a walk. Although Dong's courtyard was simple, it covered a large area with more than 40 hot spring pools of varying sizes. Many officials and their families just came to make an appearance, walked around, cleaned their hands and faces with the medicinal spring water, and called it a day, claiming to have washed away impurities. Annan, it seems quiet over there. Let's go twist a handkerchief and wipe our faces, Mother said, leading me to the depths of the resort and pointing to a pool hidden by trees. It is indeed secluded, I nodded. Just as I was about to walk over, Mother suddenly exclaimed, oh no, I lost my pouch, maybe it fell on the way. Annan, you go first. I'll go find it and catch up. The resort had guards, so ordinary people couldn't enter. Besides, we had maids and old women with us, nothing could happen. I smiled and agreed. When I reached the medicinal pool, a maid said, young lady, there are refreshments on the table over there, we'll go get some and be right back. I nodded, okay, hurry back. After everyone left, I winked at an old woman beside me, with a swift chop. She knocked out the remaining maid and dragged her behind a big tree. I hid there too. The old woman quickly took out a bundle from her arms, roughly tied it to a big stone picked up from the ground, and threw them into the pool. A plop sound echoed in the misty hot spring, impossible to tell what had fallen. Shortly after, another plop followed. A smile crept onto my lips. After a while, Mother strolled over. Seeing me still standing safely by the pool, she looked surprised. She glanced around, but didn't see the unconscious maid. Where's Xiao Hong? She asked. She fainted from the hot steam. I had someone help her rest in the back, I replied. Mother looked annoyed, then turned her gaze to the pool. A gust of wind blew, dispersing the mist on the water's surface. There seems to be someone in the pool. Mother stared intently, then panicked. Help! Someone help! I stood with my arms crossed, smiling as I watched Mother shout for help. The person pulled out of the pool was Shen Qing. No one knew how he had fainted in the water. Along with him were several silk handkerchiefs and a bathrobe used for soaking. Because Shen Qing had been unconscious in the water for too long and inhaled a lot of medicinal powder from the hot spring, his heart and lungs were damaged. He was basically rendered useless. Mother was hit hard and actually fell ill. When I went to visit her, she grabbed my hand tightly. Annan, Shen Qing is like this now. He'll probably never be able to marry. He's so pitiful. You've always been kind-hearted. Will you marry him? I pulled my hand away and said calmly, he brought this on himself. If he hadn't been lurking by the pool with malicious intentions, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Mother's eyes widened. You knew everything. Early that morning, they had sprinkled an excessive amount of calamus powder in that pool. Mixed with the sulfur in the hot spring water, anyone who inhaled it would fall into a deep sleep soon after. If I had unfortunately accidentally fallen into the pool, Shen Qing would have appeared to save me. After a doctor's diagnosis, it would have been concluded that I had felt unwell from over-soaking in the medicinal bath and that my life would have been in danger if not for the timely rescue. With the debt of saving my life and the physical contact from being pulled out of the water, I would have had no choice but to marry Shen Qing. That was the plan Mother and Shen Qing's mother had hatched, and all I did was turn their plan against them. Inside that falling bundle were not only excessive calamus powder but also excessive sulfur. When the bundle fell into the water, Shen Qing thought it was me and jumped in to save me as planned. Once in the water, he fainted after a few strokes. The pool was fed by a live hot spring, so by the time he was rescued, the medicinal powder had already been washed away. The world would only see it as an accident caused by over-soaking. I had merely used their own trick against them. You're so cruel, Mother gritted her teeth. Pointing at me, am I as cruel as you? I said calmly. The fire at Zhongyi's house, the bandits on North Mountain, didn't you orchestrate all of it? You asked Mistress Qin to bring Mrs. Zhu to the banquet, bribed Chef Xian to secretly put wood charcoal powder to start the fire, and lured Zhu Ying to the study. Xiao Hong is your person, isn't she? During the fire, she deliberately led me to a corner, delaying my escape. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to get out even after being hit by a beam. Mother shook her head. I didn't expect the beam to fall, Anan. I wasn't trying to hurt you, I was doing it for your own good. I just wanted you to marry into the Shen family smoothly. It's you who wanted to marry into the Shen family, isn't it? I didn't hold back, exposing her. You've always been obsessed with marrying second Uncle Shen, not me. I wish all the Shen family were dead. You know everything. For a moment, Mother looked dejected, then her eyes lit up again. Anan, your mother's good daughter. I beg you, marry Shen Qing. Think of it as fulfilling Mother's long-cherished wish. Making up for the regret of my youth. Will you? Mother looked at me pleadingly. I shook my head. Shen Qing is finished. To repay you for raising me and for all the things you've done to me, I'll tell Father that the fire traumatized you and that you need to go to the villa to recuperate. Last time, I had already told Father that Mother was acting strangely, distracted and muddled, and asked him to keep an eye on her. Tell your father. Mother's eyes turned cold. I advise you not to disturb him. His health is already not what it used to be. Are you referring to the recipe for food incompatibility that Chef Xian gave you? As I spoke, hatred surged in my heart. In this whole mess, the most innocent person was Father. The only mistake he ever made was marrying a madwoman like Mother, who caused him to die young in my previous life. Mother flew into a rage and tried to hit me. Liangan, you're my daughter. How dare you side with them? It's all their fault that I couldn't marry into the Shen family. As I retreated, I called out to the servants, someone come quickly, go fetch the doctor. Mother seems to be having another episode. The Hu people's medicine is truly potent. After a few doses were added to Mother's tea, she became somewhat delirious, and even the doctors couldn't diagnose the cause. I advised Father that the capital was full of gossipy people, which was not conducive to recuperation, and that it would be better to send Mother to the estate to recuperate and bring her back when she recovered. Although Father was heartbroken, he accepted my suggestion and sent Mother to an estate closest to the temple. A year later, I heard the news that my mother had fallen ill again, and accidentally knocked over a candle, burning herself to death in her room. My father and I were heartbroken, but life had to go on. So my father asked my maternal grandparents to help me find a suitable family in the old capital. The old capital was full of established aristocratic families, with many talented young men. After some time, devastating news came from the Shen family. A concubine surnamed Zhu, unable to bear the abuse from her parents-in-law, poisoned the whole family's food, causing multiple deaths. Shen Qing escaped the disaster because his diet was different from theirs. Watching his entire family die from the poison, he spat out several mouthfuls of blood, muttering, "This isn't how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like this. I had a harmonious family, many wives and concubines, a house full of children. It shouldn't be like this. Zhu Ying, you venomous woman. It's all your fault. You're the one who should be dead. You're the one. I no longer care much." My maternal grandmother and eldest maternal aunt sent over several illustrated catalogues and lists again, asking me to choose a husband. I have a terrible headache. Zhongyi sent a letter, telling me about the customs and local conditions of the western regions, and even invited me to be a guest. I was greatly intrigued and wrote back, asking, do they eat chicken in the western regions? Father's health had fully recovered. Hearing that the Minister of Personnel had recently retired and returned to his hometown, Father was the most likely candidate to succeed him. Life truly seems to be getting more hopeful day by day. Zhong Rong's epilogue. One moment I was being burned by a raging fire, the next I was reborn at 18. My father and the others want to marry me off to the eldest son of the Liang family. How can the legitimate son of the Liang family be worthy of marrying me? In this world, besides Erlang, no one else is worthy of marrying me. in my past life, I was forced into a bridal sedan to marry Liang Xian, but I didn't love him at all. After giving birth to my daughter, I never wanted to share a bed with him again. Fortunately, my daughter was well behaved, she looked more and more like me, and looking at her was like looking at myself when I was young. At the Plum Blossom viewing party, I saw Erlang's nephew, Shen Qing. He looked so much like Erlang. It was then that I decided to have my daughter marry him. It's like I married Erlang, but my daughter is as annoying as her father. I've set up so many schemes, yet she still won't listen obediently and marry Shen Qing. In the end, she actually joined forces with her father to send me to the estate. Heaven has eyes. Allowing me to be reborn, I will never marry Liang Xian again, nor will I ever give birth to an unfilial daughter. Liangan, aren't you proud of yourself, in this life? I will prevent you from ever being born. Under the cover of night, I put on my red wedding dress and frantically ran, climbing over walls along the way. This time, I must marry into the Shen family to be a widow for Erlang, relying on my memories from my previous life. I avoided all the interception routes and finally arrived at the Shen mansion. Although the Shen family was surprised, they didn't say much and quickly accepted me. From now on, I am a member of the Shen family, and I am overjoyed. I will definitely take good care of his parents and family on Erlang's behalf. The Shen family has many rules. Every day, I have to be there at Maro time, 5 to 7 a.m., to help my mother-in-law dress and wash, and I can't finish until high time, 9 to 11 p.m., before returning to my own courtyard. Because my eldest sister-in-law has to take care of the child, the task of serving my parents-in-law has fallen on me. I can understand this, especially since that child looks exactly like Erlang when he grows up. People praise me for my righteousness, and the Shen family also said they would petition the court to request a chastity memorial arch for me. My father and mother were also helpless with my behavior. To make my life in the Shen family easier, they helped many of the Shen family's younger generations. How wonderful! The two families live in harmony, and I can finally be worthy of Erlang. In the 4th year of my marriage to the Shen family, my parents moved to the old capital. Before leaving, my mother was worried about me and wanted me to go with them to the old capital. What a joke! I am a Shen family member in life, and a Shen family ghost in death. After the family moved away, my in-laws became much stricter with me. In the sweltering summer heat, my mother-in-law said there were mosquitoes in the house. She couldn't stand the smell of mosquito coils, and she also said that putting down a mosquito net was too stuffy. So she wanted me to stay by her bed all night to drive away the mosquitoes for her. My father-in-law wanted to eat a bowl of iced mung bean soup after lunch to get rid of the summer heat, but because he was old, he couldn't eat anything too cold. He wanted the mung bean soup to have a thin layer of ice on top before taking it out of the ice cellar, so that the thin layer of ice would melt on the way, and the temperature would be just right. So, while they were eating, I had to stand in the ice cellar, shivering, holding the bowl of mung bean soup, and as soon as a thin layer of ice formed, I would take it out and deliver it to my father-in-law to enjoy, braving the scorching sun. It's okay once or twice, but I can't take it every day. I asked my mother-in-law to intercede, but she scolded me for being unfilial, saying I wasn't worthy of being a Shen family wife and wanted to divorce me. I was terrified and quickly apologized. But I felt a faint sense of regret in my heart. In those years I was married to Liang Xian. I lived a life of luxury, never stepping into the kitchen or touching a needle and thread. Later, my in-laws became more and more excessive, always able to come up with many ways to torment me, and even the servants looked down on me. My favorite nephew, Shen Qing, even physically assaulted me. How could this be? The Shen family is a family of loyal martyrs. I understand their strict family traditions, but I don't understand why they treat me like this. Where did I go wrong? As the Shen family increasingly mistreated me wantonly, I began to regret it. I secretly ran back to the Liang mansion to visit and saw that Liang Xian had married a wife. His wife was dignified and virtuous, and they had a daughter who, although she didn't look alike, spoke and acted exactly like Liangan. Because I ran away from the residence without permission and returned to the Shen family, I was met with a severe beating. I finally snapped and questioned them, asking how they could mistreat me so when I also came from a prestigious family. My eldest brother's wife sneered from the side. Didn't you come here of your own accord? Who forced you? Afraid that I would seek help from my family in the old capital, the Shun family even locked me in the woodshed, giving me only leftovers to eat each day. Outsiders only knew that I was widowed for Shun Erlang, living in seclusion. Thanks to my reputation for chastity, the Shun family gained a lot of praise. That day, disheveled and unkempt, I slipped out while the servants forgot to lock the door. I took off my only bracelet, pawned it for silver, and bought a packet of rat poison from the pharmacy. Taking advantage of the fact that the Shun family hadn't noticed, I sneaked into the kitchen and put the rat poison into the pot of porridge. Hateful to say, the pot of porridge didn't poison the Shun family to death. Instead, they discovered it and beat me half to death. In my dying moments, I seemed to see the fire again. If I could, I wouldn't want to go back to the past. Just let me die in that fire.